Hey, don't forget, click, like, subscribe to this channel. Give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Eric T Conversation. I'm Eric T. Well, today we're not going to have an observation because not a lot of funny stuff going on right now. And I don't feel like telling any jokes. So we're going to go right into the conversation. And right now the conversation is California. California is obviously it's burning like crazy. Billions of dollars have been lost and thousands, tens of thousands of acres have been lost, and it's just decimated. Here's a fun fact for you. Since 2020, over 36,000 fires have happened in California, burning an estimated 8 million acres. That's only since 2020. So for those of you that don't think this happens all the time, this happens all the time. And there's a lot of things they could have done to prevent it. And one we talked about was deforestation, like taking the branches off, clean out the dry shrubbery. There's a way to do that, clean trees, so there's not all this dry wood and grass lying around that can easily be kindling to start fire. They could have done that. Their fire hydrants were not refilled. The reservoirs weren't filled as well with the rainwater that they had over the past year or two, and it just went right to the Pacific Ocean. Nobody stopped. Nobody did anything about it. I just don't understand that. But the buck stops with the governor. Now, I was in the military. The buck stops with whoever's in charge, whether it's your battalion commander, your company commander, your platoon leader, your first sergeant, your sergeant major. It stops with your leadership. So, as a leader, you got to make sure your people have the right training, the right equipment, the right ammo, and they're prepared to do the job they need to do. And it's your responsibility to hand them all of the things they need to be successful. The old term, set you up for success. That's what leadership does. And California's leadership has failed them to set them up for success. Gavin Newsom was told by Trump in 2018, I watched the video, Trump's in the woods talking about the fires that happened then. Saying, hey, this other country, Finland, I can't remember which one it was. They have forests very similar to California, and they clean out all the shrubbery and all the bushes and all the dried stuff, so it doesn't ignite when the temperature is just right, or lightning strikes, or somebody screws around. It doesn't just blow the whole place up. And he knew that, but he didn't do anything about it. He knew the fire hydrants weren't getting filled, and if he doesn't know all that information, that's his fault as a leader. As a leader, you got to have your hands in it. Or you got to have somebody have their hands in it that tells you and reports you exactly what's going on. And they're all blaming each other now. You got the fire chief blaming the city council people because they didn't get the fire hydrants up to code. It's just crazy what's going on over there. But you know whose fault it is, fire chief? It's your fault too. Because if you knew these things weren't happening, you should have called up the news and said, hey, this isn't happening. Get on social media. Start blasting these people. But you didn't do that, did you? You were more worried about diversity in your department. Hiring people of certain genders or whatever to fill certain roles. You had a whole slew of firefighters leave because of the mandates you put on them. You know which ones I'm talking about. So they're short firefighters. That's your job to fill those roles. And then you have the assistant fire chief telling in an interview that if your husband's stuck in a fire and me as a female can't lift him to get him out, maybe it's his fault for getting him in there in the first place. Check this out.
Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire. Which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Isn't that crazy? She actually said that out loud. She said what she was thinking right out loud. They don't care about us. They don't. They just care about filling the people that they want in there. They think it looks better for everybody else. They actually think that if you have someone of some gender, whatever, come to your door and you're the same person like them, that you'll feel better. No, if my arm is broken or I'm stuck in a fire, I don't care what you look like. It's just not going to make me feel better if you're this way or that way. You know what I feel better of? If you're a 6-foot tall guy, 220 pounds, that can lift my 185-pound ass out of the burning fire. That's what I care about. I care that you can swing an axe and knock down the front door to get me out. I don't need a 125-pound lady, 5'2", can't swing an axe. You think those kind of people are swinging axes and knocking down trees and digging those trenches to try to stop that fire from going to other places? No, they're not. Sometimes you need a big old guy to do it. And that's the problem. So the buck stops with the top of the leadership. And I really hope California, man, it's a beautiful state. I was there once as a kid. I'll never forget it. And I have friends that live there right now from high school. It's a beautiful state. Beautiful. You got mountains, you got the ocean. It's wonderful. But you got to start looking who you vote for. You really need to. If this doesn't wake you up and say, maybe the D's are the wrong people, they're the wrong people. And I've seen people online say, well, it doesn't matter if you're a D or an R, you got to vote for the right person. No, because California is all D. It's all D's over there. There's hardly any R's that are running anything. So you just need to start going to the other side and see if they can take care of this. Because I bet you, if they were running the show, you wouldn't have all this. You wouldn't have the homelessness place. You wouldn't have all these things going on in California. So start looking into yourself and figuring out, you know what? We need to start voting the right people in. And you need to start doing away with these mail-in ballots that you're doing. Because I got news for you. That's why these people stay in there. They're staying in there because that's the way they can manipulate the system. I'm not saying anything nefarious is going on, but it's an easy way to do it if you really wanted to do it. So you need to fix that. You need to fix that first before you get the right people in there. Because these people, who's voting for these people? Who? I don't think anybody with common sense would keep voting for these types of people. And they clearly don't care about you. They don't. So let's pray for California. I prayed for them last night. I'll continue to pray for them. I hope it rains. I hope it pours over there because that's really what they need right now to turn it around. So God bless them all over there. Let's hope for the best. Be safe. And now Mark Zuckerberg was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was spilling the beans about what the Biden administration was doing to Facebook to suppress all the info that was coming up about the COVID vaccine. You know, the bad things about it. So a couple of months ago, maybe 9 months ago, he was on there again, and he was talking about how they told him to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop, that it was Russian disinformation, that it was all wrong, it was all lies. They had all these 51 intel officers and generals that said it was all wrong, it was lies. And he bent on the knee for that one too. Then they came to him about COVID, and he did it again. So the funny thing to me is, why all of a sudden this change of heart, Zuckerberg? Why are you all of a sudden feeling different? It's because Trump won? Now, I did see the interview with Mark Zuckerberg when he was talking about when Trump got hit in the face, in the ear, with that bullet. His face was bleeding. He put his fist in the air. He thought it was the coolest thing he's ever seen. I get it. He's a beta. So it was the coolest thing he ever saw. But was that your turning point? Here's my theory of why Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg has changed his tune for the Meta. I believe Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg knows all the data that was behind the scenes prior to this election. He knows what people are thinking. He knows what people are posting, and he could know which way the country was going just by the data he was collecting through Meta. That's what I think. And I think he knew way before the election was over who was probably going to win. He knew it. So he knew he had to start figuring out how to build some bridges between him and the Trump organization and the rest of America for all the suppression of speech that he was doing with his company. So now he's out doing a public relations tour saying that they're no longer going to suppress speech. They're no longer going to use fact checkers. And they're going to use something very similar to X, which is called the community notes. That's genius, right? They could have done it, but that's why he decided to do it, because I believe he knew a long time ago who was going to win the election, and he was getting ready to do it. Now, that's great. People say if, Kamala Harris would have won, would he have still done the same thing? Who knows? Who knows? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'll tell you why I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Because Republicans may not always be in charge. It may not be them. Next time, it might be some Democrats. And if it's some Democrats, he's already turned coat on them. And they don't forgive, nor will they forget. And they'll come after him. So this is a huge risk on his part coming out like that. So love him or hate him or say what you want to say about him. I think he's doing the right thing. Let's hope he has good intentions for this. And let's hope he continues to be positive for free speech, because that's what we need in this country. We need the information to come out there. And he sees how well X is doing, and he decided to go ahead and jump on that bandwagon. You know what? It's better late than never. That's what I say. Better late than never. Anyway, join me next time for some chit chat, observation, had some good old-fashioned conversation. Hang in there, California. Hang in there.